So I figured I'd give part two to this. I did the video with Yugi's card collection, so now I'm going to do the video with Kaiba's cards collection. Just as a reminder, none of this artwork is mine, but the actual cards themselves were designed by me, and I created a program to be able to make each card. So I can make a completely custom Yu-Gi-Oh or Yu-Gi-Oh Vanguard crossover card or a completely custom Vanguard card if I want to. So without further ado, we'll get into Kaiba's cards. So the starting unit is obviously going to be Kaiba Man. It is Kaiba. Again, you can kind of see when I was making these because this was right after Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge started. Screw the rules, I have money. Obvious, classic line. Should sell pretty well on a shirt. But we have Kaiba Man as the starter for the game. He has kind of an in-soul ability, which means like if he's used, you can bring out a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and you can do it very early. You kind of get to what's called Superior Call, which is kind of like Special Summon in Yu-Gi-Oh! You get to go above and beyond and do a lot more cool things. I might go into a little more details on some of these cards, just kind of give you an idea of where my headspace was when I designed them. The ride line progresses, and Kaiba's one of the weird ones because he was not designed with a ride line in mind, which is a ride line, for those of you that are uninitiated, is kind of like the sequence of units that your character will go into progressively as the game continues. So when I first developed Kaiba, there was no red line. So what I did was I just kind of like retroactively said, these are the cards that you're going to go into, and now we have Cyberjar. So Cyberjar, essentially, he's busted, but not as busted as he used to be. And you go into Cyberjar, which classic Kaiba card, despite the fact that Kaiba never actually played the card in the anime. Blue Eyes White Dragon is a grade 2. This was a bit grating for some of my friends who said, why wouldn't Blue Eyes be, your grade 3? And Blue Eyes White Dragon is just as powerful as he was. He has that ability no matter where he is on the board, and he's incredibly powerful in the scope of Vanguard at the time. And then we have Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which is actually the grade 3. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Kaiba kind of runs off of this crazy strategy that allows him to kind of just break all the rules. And this artwork was very cool, and I am very happy whenever I can find it. It actually has a wider picture where like Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl are attacking Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but this is the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. The trigger units. So again, every deck has 16 trigger units, and we have Vorse Raider. So Vorse Raider is pretty cool, typical classic Kaiba card, and it can do some interesting shenanigans. Again, most crit triggers and any trigger units in Vanguard have locked-in effects now, but at the time when I created these, trigger units could have effects, which is why I just kind of carried them over. And the joke is that Yu-Gi Guard is not Vanguard. It is its own format. It is, its own fun and everything else. Blade Knight, another classic Kaiba card. Again, more shenanigans, lets him do some cool tricks. The draw trigger is Spirit Ryu, and Spirit Ryu is one of the ones that I modified. It allows you to get an order card. I will note that there are some order cards missing from this. That's because they were already shown in the Yugi list. So if you want to watch that video, you can see like the Pot of Greeds and the Graceful Charities and stuff, Monster Reborns. Typically, anything DM era had those cards in it. But Spirit Ryu lets you, search your deck, which is really powerful, especially on a draw trigger. And then Gwinketsu Megami. This is actually the art for Aegis of Gaia, I believe. And yeah, so it's another artwork of one of Kaiba's alleged favorite cards. I actually did this because Kaiba in the Japanese anime, because they can't show it in America because 4Kids loves to censor things, was about to get shot with a gun. Kaiba threw a copy of Gwinketsu Megami at the gun and jammed the hammer so it wouldn't fire, because anime. Chaos Emperor Dragon is the overtrigger. Again, kind of to be a parallel with Blackluster Soldier. They're like the envoy at the beginning, envoy at the end. And, crazy shenanigans ensue whenever you hit this as a trigger. The PG is Dimension Dragon. Different Dimension Dragon. Kaiba can't be destroyed. I debated on Kaiser Glider, but I thought it was like too high of a level monster. But Dimension Dragon's only one level lower. It's all relative. I just didn't do Kaiser Glider because he plays Dimension Dragon a little bit more than Kaiser Glider. This card, he never plays Maiden with Eyes of Blue. He did in a YCS, I think, mock duel that they did a whole thing on at one time. And this card is insane. It kind of like allows Kaiba just to break more rules. So if anybody knows how to play Vanguard, obviously this is probably misworded because I have not gone back and like reworded everything to fix it. But this effect is insane. You kind of get the gist of it. So then this is also where we kind of run into other issues, is that a lot of the effects I tried to make them as clean as possible. But Kaiba has a lot of cards, and it kind of became an issue where like his entire it's kind of like having more options than anybody, but you kind of want to play them all, but also if you want to play some consistently, it turns into an issue. So we have the XYZ Dragon pieces. They kind of do their own little union thing, which is cool. And there is an XYZ Dragon cannon in the game, and as you can see, some of my stuff has overlapped, and some of it needs to be fixed. Some of these files are a little old, so Swordstalker. Kaiba does play this, and I thought Swordstalker needs to be super, super powerful, so I made him super powerful, because, you know, look at those abs. Anyway, Vampire Lord, again, a very powerful card. Had to change a little bit about him because he was far too powerful in certain scenarios, because originally you could call zeros, which would force your opponent to, you know, remove their triggers from the deck, which kind of not just handicaps them, but completely defeats them. And then we have the XYZ Dragon Cannon, which again Kaiba goes into multiple times, and it's essentially another superior call, assuming that you can assemble Voltron on the board. You can pop into this a turn early, and your opponent is way behind, and it just turns into a whole mess for the opponent to deal with. The ultimate unit, again, just like Dark Paladin in the previous set, I made Chaos Max Dragon because there wasn't a Blue Eyes Ultimate or more dragon besides Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, and I hate to admit it, I really dislike that card. You know, hot take. But essentially what Chaos Max does is just wins you the game. Again, it's insane how powerful some cards are in Vanguard now, so I decided if I'm making this card that has all this conditions to produce it, then you might as well win the game with it. And on to Kaiba's more, you know, his cards that I have made specifically for him. So I have Soul Release, which he did use in the anime, Shadow Spell, which he did also use significantly, and it's kind of his equivalent to Spellbinding Circle. It has a little bit more restrictions than Spellbinding Circle, but is a lot more than Spellbinding Circle. And then the all-powerful Crush Card Virus. This card is insane. It used to be a lot more powerful, and a lot of people took advantage of some of the rules of Vanguard that I was less privy to, and I decided that I would nerf it. Some of them said, oh, it's not as broken, but it's still powerful, and that's kind of where Kaiba lies. So if you guys enjoyed this, stay tuned. I'm going to be putting up the other 4 decks that I've actually produced as soon as possible, and we'll move on to those pretty soon. Thanks for your time, and have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.